Hi everyone and welcome to Stempad's YouTube channel. My name is Vivian and I am a lead data scientist at a growth marketing company over in Sydney, Australia. Today I'll be demonstrating an entire data science project that I recently completed at work, all within Stempad, showing you just how versatile their platform is. I'll be going through my background and context of my project, the steps I undertook, and how it's being used in my business right now. I hope that you enjoy this video and that it can give you some inspiration as to how you can use Stempad in your everyday workflow. Let's get straight into it now. Alrighty, so we're now within Stempad and I've just created a blank scratch pad, and obviously I have filled out some text just so I'm not boring you by typing all this out. So for context, the project that I've just completed is a lead scoring project, and today I'll be going through all my key steps and documenting all of that within Stempad. So as you can see, Stempad, just within the scratch pad, I have created a quick sheet. So think about this scratch pad as like a Google Doc or a Notion file where you have a title, you can easily do your headings. So we've got documentation of lead scoring project as a heading 1, then a heading 2, and a heading 3. You can also easily input images. So in this case, I have just pasted in an image from the web to explain to all of you what exactly is lead scoring. So first of all, what is a lead? So a lead is essentially when, I'm sure you've all been to websites and you've had to fill in your details for someone to contact you back. As an example, you're asked to put in your first name, last name, email, and a phone number on this specific website. The minute you fill this out, it'll go over into their customer management system and you will become a lead. So lead scoring is essentially the process of assigning values to each lead that is generated for your business based on how certain characteristics match with good profiles of customers. So essentially it is a predictive model that we are building here. And yeah, I just wanted to give you some context on what lead scoring is. But the project basically aims to identify and prioritize potential customers based on how likely they are to convert. And obviously you would want to be calling up the ones which are more likely to confirm first. Our lead score is going to be a score between 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the most likely to convert or the best customer. And the reason why lead scoring is important is, let's take this arrival website for Canada. If you have 1,000 people filling out this form, how do you know who you're meant to be calling up? Obviously, you want to prioritize. You only have so many salespeople. You want to be calling up your top potential customers. So lead scoring is going to step in here, and it is a critical part of any lead generation website and really does help sales and marketing teams prioritize leads and increase conversion rates. So let me just underline this, as I feel like this is pretty important. So now that we know what lead scoring is, today we are going to be doing a predictive model build, and I'll just be documenting it here, where we use a bunch of data analysis and machine learning techniques to build a model. I also want to showcase for my non-technical stakeholders some sample records. So let me just turn this into heading 3 and I'll go sample customer records. And if I hit enter, let's go. Below is a snippet of example leads from our data warehouse. So prior to this, I did a bunch of data preparation, all done within SQL. So data preparation was done within SQL, aggregating various data sources, including customer information, Google Analytics 4. One of the coolest features that I find about Stempad is their spreadsheet block. So if you just hit the / here, I'm going to go spreadsheet. I'm just going to paste some of my in from a CSV. So let me just paste some example customers that I've got. I have covered up their full names and replaced it with dummy data for privacy reasons. But if I just paste it in, as you can see, I've got a identifier for my lead. People leave their first name, last name, their email, their zip code. Their time on site is information that I've gotten from Google Analytics 4, so how long people are staying on their page. We've also got how many pages they visited during a session. And lastly, I have a feature called converted flag, which is essentially some historic data to show whether or not our customer has actually ended up signing up for your service. So this is an example data set that I would be building my model on. Obviously, I would have way more records than just 5 customers, but for today's demonstration purposes, 5 shall suffice. And now let's get straight on into the next part of our model build. So moving on from our sample customer records, we now move on into the modeling process. Another really cool feature about Stempad is you can directly integrate your code within this notebook, which for me is so critical because I am a big user of Jupyter notebooks in my day job, but it's really hard to share Jupyter notebooks with my non-technical stakeholders because I have to upload their file into GitHub and then give them access. And honestly, they just get overwhelmed with how much code there is. So in Stempad, you can cut out all your code that you don't want to show them, like your messy data prep code, and just showcase them like the highlights of your code. So as an example here, let's now go through the modeling process. So we'll now go through a quick explanation of what I did in Python. So let's say the above leads were imported into Python. We ran a logistic regression model. So now let's say I want to showcase some of my code to my non-technical stakeholders. You can even run the code, but obviously right now we don't have the CSV uploaded, so I won't be running a real-time machine learning model with you, but you can easily get Python to plot you some charts and write you some easy functions. There are plenty of videos on Stempad's channel that demonstrate that already, so feel free to go check those out. But for now, if you go /code, it will come up and you can select whether you want to run things in Python, JavaScript, or Tix. I am only familiar with Python here, so let's go through Python. I will paste in some of my code from my Jupyter notebook as an example. There you go. And if this was runnable, you can easily just press this play button here and run the code. So what am I doing here? I am essentially importing a couple of different packages. So sklearn is one of my favorite packages in Python. I'm sure any of you who are comp sci data science majors will be very familiar with sklearn within Python. It does so much for you. You can build all your different data science models, machine learning models using this package. I then load in my data set called leads_data. Most likely this will have at least 1,000 records. I then pop in some of my example features that I have up here. So time on site, pages visited, landing page time. And then I have the variable that I want to predict, which is whether or not this person became a actual customer or paying customer. Next, I then split my data into training and test sets. So I'm going to train or build my model on 70% of my data and then test on the remaining 30%. And here I am initializing and training my logistic regression model. And yeah, lastly, I am evaluating my model. And I'm going to go through a couple of iterations of this, but once I'm happy with my model, I'm then going to show some of my top variables and I want to display that to my stakeholders. They want to know what's going on in the model. We don't want to give them a black box model. So here we are now going to go through some of the top variables and show some trends to them within Stempad. So moving on, I'm then going to go the variable selection process. So for my project, I actually tested 28 different variables. So I'm going to just say 28 input variables were tested for correlations to whether a sales conversion occurred. So the sales conversion is just this converted flag field, which should either be 0 or 1 for if the person became a customer or not. Then the top 4 variables were selected based on discriminatory power and each bucketed into intuitive segments and converted into binary 0 or 1 variables. So my top variables in my lead scoring project were time on page. So let's also just give them some context. The longer a person spends on the website, the more likely they are to become a customer. Which makes sense because the more interested you are and the more you're reading about them, maybe you are inherently already biased towards wanting to sign up for them. The next feature I have is a scroll depth. So this is how far down the page someone goes. The further down a person scrolls, the more likely they are to become a customer. And similarly to other variables I've got are the person's job title. I found that the more senior they were, the more likely they were to convert. And lastly, it was pages visited, the journey. So some people who visited more critical pages were more likely to become a customer. So these are my top 4 variables, and obviously this might not mean much to our stakeholders, and I want to actually show them a diagram. So how about pasting a chart? I don't want to go into Excel and then create a chart and then take a screenshot and then put it in here. The beauty of Stempad is you can directly build a chart within Stempad. So I'll show you just how to do that. So let's just go below is an example of the relationship. Let's go between pages visited and sales conversion rate. So first of all, let's open up another spreadsheet block. So let's just go / spreadsheet, and let's build out our dummy data. So our bucket, so our pages visited, and the conversion rate, or sales conversion rate as a percentage. So let's just put in some figures here just for demonstration purposes. Let's go 1, 2, 3, or more than 4. And then sales conversion, obviously the more you visit, the more likely you are to become a customer. So let's go 2%, 4%, 9%, and 25%. So let's say we have this. You can now select these columns, hit right click here, insert chart, and automatically Stempad here will plot this chart for you. We don't want to show this backend data to our stakeholders, so you know what? Let's just hit delete and the chart will stay. So yeah, you can then hover over and explain to your stakeholders. So you can tell them this is going to be a key feature of the model, and as you can see, the more pages visited, the more likely someone is to become a customer. So yeah, I think this is a really handy feature for visualizing any kind of data and super helpful in a text editor. Now, let's go into the technical details. So we built a logistic regression model. So let me just document this. The technical details. Logistic, oh, I can't type today. Logistic regression. So I will just put in some context now from my Jupyter notebook, so I'm not typing it out. So for a specific lead, we are going to have a mathematical formula. So many of you might be familiar with logistic regression. It is a very simple machine learning model that you all learn in university or college. And the best part about, not the best part, but one of the best features about Stempad is not only can you type code, do spreadsheets, and make charts, you can directly type math formulas. I'm sure some of you can empathize with exactly how painful LaTeX is to use and the error messages that it throws, but in Stempad, typing math formulas is such a breeze. Just go / math, and then hit P, and it automatically knows P for probability. P equals 1 divided by 1 plus E to the power. So how would you normally do power? You would hit like the shift 6 for that superscript. Then you can type negative, put in brackets, b underscore 0 plus b underscore 1, x underscore 1. So this is super easy to type LaTeX, honestly. B underscore 2, x underscore 2, and so on. So this is honestly so straightforward. As you can see, I am pretty rusty with typing math equations, but Stempad makes it such a breeze. And there you go. Your math equation is done, and it's rendered perfectly within mathematical format. I guess this is the maths behind logistic regression, and obviously your stakeholders are not going to know what these things mean. So let's explain it for them. So where I want to type P, so let's go where math. Explain P. P equals, you can probably just type regular English now, is the probability of the target outcome. So in our case, it is a sales conversion. We can also say where B0, so let's go where B underscore 0, and then we'll go where B0 is the intercept, B underscore 1, B underscore 2, etc, B underscore 3 are the coefficients for the various features. So hopefully this shows you just how easy and versatile Stempad is to use, not just if you're a student, but if you are an actual STEM professional working in industry. It is so handy to collaborate on documents. This is a feature that I wish I could have in Notion, because in my organization right now, we are using Notion and you are not able to build diagrams or any of these math equations. So Stempad has honestly come in so clutch. I cannot wait for all of you to give it a try. So yeah, let's just wrap up this documentation now. As I'm sure you've all gotten the hang of Stempad, let's just do one final sentence to wrap up the project. So this probability in brackets, let's go math P, I put that in brackets, is then converted into a lead quality score that lies between 1 and 10. The lowest quality leads will receive a score of 1. The highest will receive a score of 10, and the rest will be normalized accordingly. And if you want to show your stakeholders what normalize means, I'll show you one final block within Stempad that I quite like to use, and that is the draw block. So let's just go draw. And you see it's already selected with the pencil icon. So we can just draw to our stakeholders what exactly is a normal distribution. I've got a straight line at the bottom. Oh, my drawing's not very good, but a normal distribution kind of looks like a bell curve, and we can then just sketch that out for them and show them that's what it is. No matter what you want to draw for your stakeholders, or you can do any kind of brainstorming, feel free to use their draw block as well. And yeah, so this is my entire project. Once you're done, you can easily share it with your stakeholders and link this to them within Slack. They can view, they can comment, you can control the permissions, and then once you're done, if you want to email this to a client, you can then just download it as a PDF and you are good to go. I hope that you enjoyed going through this data science project and that you learned something about lead scoring, and also you have left with a lot more ideas on how you can use Stempad and just how versatile it is. I cannot wait for you to give Stempad a go. I believe they are currently on sale, so please check them out. You won't regret it. I will see you in the next video. Bye all.